Good afternoon, everyone. This is Professor Hills. This is a video for our class, Introduction to Ethics, Philosophy 2306 here at St. Philip's College for the summer of 2026. And it's Tuesday. It's June the 9th, 2026. It's the Tuesday of the first week of our class. And we have our first kind of assignment that's due tomorrow, Wednesday the 10th. That's just the introduction and welcome, though. But as I said yesterday, the reason that's important is you want to make sure to go to the assignment, click the box, go into the reply to the discussion, put your comment in there, who you are, what's going on. But then also, once you're done with that, comment on at least 2 of your classmates. That's important because that's the pattern we're going to be using every Sunday night from now on when we're turning in the essays. So we're going to be reading a chapter, looking at a case study, and then applying the chapter to the case study in a form of a short essay. Somebody sent me a message, asked me for more details about that. And I said, look, there's not a minimum word count, but most students take about a page and a half to answer fully all the questions. I'm going to get to that point in a minute. and then submit that first. That's always the first thing you do. Submit your essay and then read through and comment on at least 2 of your classmates. All right, so that's the structure. And the essay, like I said, most students type it up and then just copy and paste it into the reply box. That's the way to do that. Now, that being said, I'll do a couple of things. There are videos that I have that I'll add to the playlist of me discussing our first case study, the Jenny Lake case, in the past. And you can watch those if you want. They're not required viewing. And in regards to the requirements for the class, as long as you read the material, like this week, read chapter 1, then write your essay for the case study and submit that by Sunday night at midnight. That's all. You don't have to be watching this video, but they're designed to help you out. And I'll put some other, like I said, links to other previous videos that I've made where I've discussed this case. And again, concepts from the chapter and the other case studies as we go along. I'll be putting that into the playlist for you. And some other videos like Crash Course. They have great videos that'll be helpful as we go along. Not required, but helpful. So the one point I want to make about the case study today, this is the Jenny Lake case. It's terrible and it's sad. It's a true story, but it does get at some of the issues that we need to address and apply in order to fully understand the concepts around ethics and morality, the things we're introduced to in our first chapter. And here's one of the issues that I want you to think about as you're preparing and writing. And by the way, some people have already jumped ahead. You know, this is the whole thing about the rabbits. We've got some people that are really eager to get in there. And you might have missed this, so I want you to think about that. You've got till Sunday night at midnight if you want to. If you turned it in, you're happy with what you wrote, great. But as long as you have included a definition or a key concept from the chapter in your essay and applied it and answered all the questions, you're going to be good. But for those of you still writing and still thinking, let me point this out. One of the factors in this case is that Jenny Lake is 17 years old. She is a minor. It is actually, her parents are divorced. She lives with her mom. The decision maker in this case is her mom. As the parent, as the guardian in charge of all of her medical decision making for her minor child, it's the mom who has to make this call. Now, what happens and what's clear is that when the family met with the doctors, that they got advice, they got input from other people, other family members, they reached out to clergy, they did all kinds of stuff. But in the end, when it came down to Jenny and her mom, Jenny says, this is the decision I want to make, which is stop my treatment. And then the mom says, okay, to Jenny, that was her making a decision and her mother agreeing with her. But really what's happening is it's the mom asking Jenny what she wants to do. Jenny expresses her opinion on the subject that she wants to, stop the treatment. And then the mom takes that into consideration and makes the decision and tells the doctors, okay, this is what we're going to do. It's always important to identify who's the decision maker, who is weighing and balancing all the factors, because that's an important factor in all of our case studies, and certainly right here, right off the bat. We were in a medical system where typically the patient is getting advice and input from the doctors and the whole medical community, the staff, everybody. And then they make a call, and then again, the doctors and nurses, everybody involved, they then carry out those wishes. And that's true when you're talking about somebody who is competent and is making decisions for themselves, and they're an adult. If they're incapacitated, it then shifts to another decision maker, typically a spouse, or short of a spouse, the majority of opinion of adult children. I mean, there's a whole system for determining who is in charge and who's making these decisions. And it's terribly important, especially when there's conflict. I mean, if Jenny and her mom had disagreed, it would have been a whole different story. So we have to identify that, because in this case, it also impacts the mama bear theory of what to do. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that tomorrow and in some other videos that I'll post and put in the playlist. But you have to remember, we're not only trying to decide what's the right thing to do, what course of action to take, what's right and what's wrong, but why. And the why gets tricky really fast. It's not just, withhold it or continue it. And not just, I think this is right, but why do you think it's right? What is that based upon? What's the foundation of that? What's the theory of that? That, by the way, takes a little time to think your way through and to explain and to write about in an essay. So make sure you're not jumping the gun and going too fast. You want to slow down and address some of these key issues. All right. Like I said, I'll put this and a couple of other videos into the playlist. In the meantime, I'll keep talking to y'all as we go along. I've been getting questions, which is great. I'm happy to respond as we go along. I understand there's actually a problem with one of the hyperlinks and the modules. I'm going to figure that out and fix that. Thank you for letting me know. And anyway, we'll keep rolling our way towards tomorrow, Wednesday the 10th, when we have the welcome and introductions due, and then Sunday night's really the first big deadline for our first essay. You got to have chapter 1 read so you can incorporate that into your response. All right, take care. I'll be talking to y'all, and more soon. Bye.